Hey there, so agency. This is a word that the other side of this conversation we have in comics is obsessed with. In fact, I would go further and to say that culturally, people on the other side of any conversation that you're having, they seem to be obsessed with this idea. It's something that I find interesting to watch, but it's annoying to hear because you can't have conversations that are forthright anymore. I mean, for example, if you talk about a creation in comics, or you talk about a creator, you're not talking about those. Oh no, you're talking about a creation by, or a creator that qualifies as. Oftentimes you hear words like marginalized added, or if somebody wants to come out and they want to play that game too, but they don't have the right current year qualifiers, well, they become the defender of the marginalized. All about agency. In fact, this comic conversation oftentimes is boiled down by these people, very unfairly, I might add, to 2017. They talk about how there were some girls having milkshakes out for a stroll, and those people, they decided to take a selfie. When they took that selfie, they got 93 positive comments off of it, but there were 4 comments that were so dastardly that they defied their agency. So of course we had to have a whole hashtag about it. We had to go on and on about this stuff because 4 comments in current year, that can't be abided. You cannot have criticism, you cannot have critique, and well, you can't have anything else outside of that. It has to be one specific narrative. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about agency. I want to talk about the other side of this conversation and how they really don't care about that idea. They go out and for power, they talk about this. For prominence, they do that. I mean, we've talked about before things like the progressive stack and where people exactly fall into that. But one of the things that you have to have within that is you have to agree. That's the caveat there. If you don't agree to specific narratives, well, you don't matter. That's how this thing works when we're talking about comic books. You know, if you hear words like gator or comic gator, what that does is it removes this very idea that these people throw out. They boil you down to one amalgam. They describe you as one thing because that one thing, it can be described as a Nazi or an alt-righter or a white supremacist or, you know, a white male. These days, all of the current year buzzword rhetoric. Because when you think about the absurdity to that, well, it all falls apart. That's how you get females that are not called female. You know, they're all men out there, or all diverse people, you know, because we're all really diverse people, but we're all boiled down to a singular. Here, we see a female that is actually told that as a fan, they're not a fan. They don't know anything about it, which is the same thing that we heard that supposedly denied the agency of milkshake girls there. So let's follow this through. So this starts with a list, and you see the name of the person throwing it out here. If you're on Twitter, give the person a follow. I think they deserve that because they expose Scott Schneider as who they are. In fact, they saved me quite a bit of money. You know, in November, there's a hardback edition coming out of American Vampire, and it would have been the first edition. I would have bought that, and I would have bought other ones. Now, well, I'm not going to do so. This, pretty much at the 3-to-1 odd, this had him come out and not only do that, but he decided to go out and to start following so many an anti-consumer account. Now, I don't judge people by who they follow, but when you throw the message out there and then you throw these people on top of it, well, it showcases exactly where Scott Schneider stood. And like I said, it saved me and a lot of other people money. So congratulations, you know, showcasing where DC, where yourself, and where other products should stand, and they should stand far away from me. So within this, the person that posted it, they posted a reply because they were not happy about it. They said, you know, knew you'd be first, Scott. You're insulting real fans. And yeah, your 2 best original pages are mine. Now, this had to have a response. Someone had to proffer one. And of course, when they did, They had to remove agency. Now here is Mike Norton, yet another creator out there, that said, this person knows Scott doesn't draw those comics, right? Bunch of true comic fans there, yep. Now the way I understand the idea of agency, again, you just called this person a fake geek girl. Isn't that the way that it works? It's the same language, it's the same reductionary factors. So of course if it works for one and it doesn't work for the other, that makes you a hypocrite. So I'm going to hold you to the same standard, because that's what I've been hearing out here time and again, and especially from him. And not the same person as well, but other people. There were many people out there. But here's another creator, Jamal Igle. Most of those people on that list have already denounced Comicsgate. Either they don't really care or are just looking for attention, or like thinking Scott drew American Vampire, aren't paying attention to the things they read. Yeah, it seems very staged as well. At this point, all they do is deflect and deny. Their movement has been pilloried by major news outlets, and their leaders are squabbling amongst themselves like pigeons pecking at a desiccated corn cob. Wow, I bet you're probably proud of that analogy. You were probably like, yeah, when I'm typing that, look at that word. Oh, a desiccated corn cob. You know what people are talking about here? They're talking about wanting professionalism, and this is what you get for it. You get told that you're going to be lambasted by major news outlets. Places like Polygon or Sci-Fi or, the Washington Post. I mean, if you look at the people they allow to write some of these articles, yeah. In fact, I'm going to focus on one of them not too long from now. I'm going to focus on Sandwich Boy within it. But still, it's amazing, too, the mixed messages, since we were talking about that. You can't trust the media. They like to cover up and they like to collude and on. These people right here, they would probably follow that narrative if you put out a certain narrative for them to follow. But right now, they're the most trustworthy things imaginable. But continuing, I've gone from being angry about all of this to just pitying them. Consumers don't need your pity. In fact, you create a consumable. You ask people to buy that. I mean, if you were creating art for art's sake, great. But no, you create something you want people to indulge in. People, they don't have to. They can walk away and they can talk about it however they want. Unfortunately, within this, you've misread the tea leaves. You think that people are obligated to give you something. So of course you were angry. When people asked you to be professional, when they challenged that, and they said, hey, the standard that you hold other occupations to, we want that from you. Yeah, I can see why you got mad about that. Because of course you couldn't manage that. Of course you couldn't. But continuing here and finishing this, they are just the latest version of Hal's Emerald Advancement Team or the Parents Television Council. Just a sad bunch of people who mistakenly think they're the majority just because they're loud. Yeah, that's very interesting. You have people out there that are walking in on comic book consumers that have been here forever, people that have spent quite a bit of money. But of course, there are individuals out there that don't buy comic books. They just think that they can be loud. And then you have people who create things, the people that don't buy them. They create them, but they think that they can set the terms of engagement. That, it doesn't fly. I mean, all of you can just keep going out and making statements like this because, of course, within that, you'll be talking to self before long because nobody else wants to interact with that because it's poison. I mean, it is definitely the poison pen. Now, there were other comments as well, and those comments went after appearance, which will be mentioned in this video, plus intellect and on. In reposts, people even had the audacity to say that this person was just a showpiece and that some cis white male had them out there modeling comics. They were taking away this person's agency, saying they can't be a comic book fan. So it's very intriguing that way. Well, this person decided that they would do a response video, and there will be receipts at the end of it that we will look at. Now, within this, I think that this was an excellent video as well because it showcases questions to Mike on comics that he's written. So, this person is saying, hey, I bought your comic books. You thought this of me? Okay, well, I bought these things. I probably won't buy anything from you ever again. It's very interesting how the cash cows, how we've all gone to other other places, other greener pastures. We'll take our money elsewhere. I think that that's good. But let's look at this. And I did ask for permission to utilize this whole thing. I know you could do that anyhow, but I like to give credit where credit is due. So I did ask for permission to utilize this. So let's begin. Mike Norton insulted me and blocked me. So got blocked too. No interaction, just blocked because of, putting up a picture out there. Jamal Igle and others piled on, and they did indeed. You saw a little bit of that, and there's a lot more, including comments about my appearance, and of course, being not a comic book fan, I have never spoken to Mike. Never ever, not once there. That's good stuff. And I looked too, but I bought a lot of his comics. I did go back and check to see if there was any kind of communication. There wasn't. Mike thinks I'm not a true fan. Haven't we heard stuff about that? In fact, we got a lot of lessons on that before. I showed some original art pages written by Schneider. Yep. And Mike said, I didn't know Scott didn't draw those pages. I mean, how damn insulting is that within that, I never said Scott drew them. I never said Scott drew them. Never said that. That was not in the comments there at all. I paid money for those pages. Yeah, and those pages are not cheap. I've picked up quite a bit of original art, and they're not cheap at all, because I love American Vampire. I did too, but thankfully Schneider saved me some money on hardbacks. You bet your beard I know who wrote and drew them. I thought that was kind of funny, I liked Revival as well when I was reading it. Scott Snyder signed the pages. So Scott actually has his name on the bottom, which he shows the receipts for, So Scott knows they're his. So he knows that they actually belong to him. And, it's really deceptive to say that they don't. So 2 questions, and we'll answer these at the end when we go through the receipts. Why does Mike Norton publicly defend Scott Snyder? Why does he have to within that is part of the question, but why to? We'll answer that. Scott's 100 times bigger than Mike, which is true. He has 200,000 followers, Why does Mike insult female fans behind blocks? That's a good question as well there. And she ends, thanking you for watching there. My wife even said, hey, that was nice to watch, plus she's very attractive within that. And I think that pretty much defies the mold within it. I appreciate her going out, putting something together like this and saying, hey, everyone out here, they are not what you're saying they are. She's not showing her face because she throws anonymity, throws to that side, that caution there, because these people are attacking her for simply buying comic books. But she shows that she is indeed a female. So let's look at the receipts here too. Let's go a little bit further. You can see where we pulled this from. You can see that these signatures are indeed there. Oh, Mike, you look like a fool, But of course, Mike, he had to be unprofessional and block this person because they had the audacity to go and say, hey, I bought original art from this person and I feel insulted here. So you can see this too. They are indeed a comic book consumer, and they have, look, Mike Norton there. Also Tim Seeley. Tim Seeley has been attached to some rather rude individuals, and this stuff, it will impact other people. When you're talking about something like Revival too, you're talking about something that's sold under 5,000 units in many cases. So, yeah, way to go out and to impact something that I'm sure you don't make a fortune for. So you can see, of course, all of this written out as we go forward, and we get to our 2 questions. So number 1, why does Mike Norton publicly defend Scott Snyder? For the size there. Yeah, he doesn't need it. But there's that thing of community that I always talk about. The idea of what comic books should be versus what they are. These people constantly talk about comic books as community. They talk about this small community wherein, of course, if you follow that thought process, they can build walls around. They can put gates on. They can gatekeep. They can allow influencers or anyone in, but they can also keep out specific creators. They can keep out consumers and on. Anybody with wrong think. You get a lot of back pats and on too from people that really, do they matter there? And while they're doing that, of course, they cost themselves and the industry consumers. But hey, at least they patrol small community. Now, the second question there, why does Mike insult female fans behind behind blocks. Again, you're talking about not only fan, you're actually a consumer. You're somebody who, well, you had his stuff there. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty telling. But beyond that, too, the removal of agency. I mean, that's one of their favorite things to talk about. So didn't they remove that from her? And, of course, blocking without ever commenting. Doesn't that say something? This person never interacted, but they go out, they insult, and they do it behind a block bot because nothing says professionalism quite like that. So, the thank you there for watching, receipts below. Yeah, well, thank you for throwing that out there too, because you showcase exactly what kind of hypocrites are involved in this stuff. So my final thoughts on this. I mean, you look at this exchange and it showcases something that we see time and again. It really says at the end of the day that this has become an unsupportable industry. When you see people from pretty much every company out there attacking comic book consumers, telling you that if you don't engage in their particular brand of right think, well, you got to be taught a lesson. Maybe you need to step aside and put your money elsewhere. I mean, the amount of money that certain things cost, yeah, I mean, think about what else they could be spent on. For example, everything that she threw out here. When you look at these comic books, imagine all of the money that was spent on this. It could have been spent somewhere else, but you're enjoying that. $3 a pop still, I mean, when you're looking at these comic books, it could have gone to something else that you enjoy, and I'm sure that it will go somewhere else. It may still be comic books, but it definitely won't be these people. The same thing goes with original art. These days, I am not putting down money for anything that does not support me. Support that which supports you. Well, these people, they are far gone from that, and you don't need to look back. This stuff, too, the reason that we keep talking about it is because people are tuning in all the time. New people, they arrive daily, and they need to see exactly what's transpiring. See the hypocrisy of it, and ask the question. It's supposed to be industry, right? When consumers are talking about, hey, professionalism matters. Going out and denouncing consumers that are asking for things like, again, professionalism and good products, telling them that they themselves need to denounce something to even talk about them anymore. This is somebody that bought original art, but yet they don't matter. In the end, they don't matter at all. It's partially our faults, too. We built temples, to them with Comic-Cons. We raised them up, and people praise them. They praise the narcissism. They praise the ego. We actually look at people that create, and we think they're role models because of their creations, not because of who or what they are. Maybe we need to start rethinking that. Maybe we need to look at deed and actual people there. And maybe, within that, we need to, again, support that which supports us. Anyway, go out and check out this person here. Go out and check out what they do, because I'm sure that they're going to put out much more. And it highlights, again, the hypocrisy of all of this. We're all supposedly, white, cis, male, alt-writers, and when you look at this, well, all of this stuff, it just typifies the argument. You have consumers out here on one side, and you have bad players on the other. And every day they showcase just how ugly they are. But anyhow, you tell me what you think on this. Also, if you like this kind of stuff, make sure that you support channels, not just this one, but other channels as well. So many channels are pretty much de-incentivized here because this is a brand of wrong thing. If you like that, there are 2 links within the description. There's a PayPal link and a Patreon link. All of the proceeds for this month will go toward getting new gear. Lightning pretty much took out my gear. I'm pretty much recording on a potato right now. And people that have really helped out, I appreciate that more than I could ever say. I'm also humbled that people tune in, and I thank you for that. I appreciate you continuing to do so. But anyhow, you tell me what you think about all of this stuff. You tell me constantly, that this stuff, it's gone further and further. And I see names out there that were just like me saying, well, I want to talk to these people. Maybe if I can get through to them, and after a while, you're like, why bother? If people wonder how you get there, well, just hold on for the ride. After a little while, after you get insulted enough times by certain names, you'll notice that walking away, It's something that has to happen. And really not only that, but once you start, it's not really hard to stop. You put down one thing, you put down another, and after a while, you ask, why bother? When you get there too, this industry, it should be asking, what are we doing here? But no, instead, it thinks that this is the right course. It thinks it doesn't need you. So, remind it, walk away, don't support it. Anyhow, tell me what you think, and thank you.